And we're back with Lilly Grove Unplugged. Good morning. My name is Willis Robinson, your host, and I have a co-host here today, Ms. Raquel Washington. Raquel, it's good to have you here. We want to have a
Glad to be
conversation
here.
about education and some things that you want to talk about. Give us a little bit about yourself.
Well, I have been in education since 2014. I started off as a teacher and then I transitioned to becoming a college counselor. And I've been a high school college counselor for the last 6 years, where I help students with their post-secondary planning, helping them to get into college, go to the military, student opportunities, exposure, planning events, that sort of thing. And so education is something that I care a lot about. And I think it's very important. And I specifically work with students who are in lower income areas, and predominantly my campus has Black students. So,
Okay, great. Which is why we want to have this conversation about school and the church's relationship with schools and students and where we're going from here.
yeah.
So we're going to have a real conversation about what you think should happen as a church. As you know, you're part of the leadership for social justice, and we feel like social justice and education goes hand in hand, right?
Yes.
So tell us, what role should churches play beyond back to school drives?
I mean, there are so many ways that the church can be a part of the education or is a part of the education system. I think about even just my own upbringing. I grew up in the church. I'm a church kid who's now a church lady. And the church was very instrumental. I learned a lot about how to communicate in church. I learned about how to be confident in church. I learned about how to have social interactions in church. I learned about how to dress properly in church. That in itself, in combination with what I learned at home and at school, was very instrumental. But beyond that, the church has a role to play in exposing children to things, providing opportunities for students, also through scholarship, which Lilly Grove does a great job of. And I'm thinking that as we are growing this social justice ministry, that we can also have a role in advocacy for things that we believe are important for students in our community.
So what does that look like, advocacy on your behalf? What do you think from the church's perspective? What kind of advocacy should the church have when it comes to students?
I think that there's maybe things like planning for drives that allow education, that create educational opportunities for people in the community to understand how their tax dollars impact their schools, where their money is going, because the tax dollars specifically target the schools within our communities. And that's also part of why our schools in our communities don't get as much funding as some other schools, and parents may not be aware of that. I think also about at the way that churches can go to policy makers and advocate for things that students need, whether it's books, whether it's clothes, whether it's food, the proper food. The church has a voice.
Okay, so what Lilly Grove does as it relates to scholarships and that kind of thing. We give a lot of money to students going to scholarship. What are your thoughts about, and that's normally to college, right? But every child doesn't want to go to college. What do you think we should do as a church as it relates to those who want to get a skill rather than go to college? Because some students don't think they're college material. And even though they may be college material, they just don't want to do that right now. What do you think about that?
So that's a very loaded question you just asked me, Brother Robinson. So so there is a lot of conversation right now in the culture, in media, about a shift in students' interest in trade, and I see it a lot in my own work. And there are a number of things that are contributing to that. I want to start by saying that sometimes students do feel like they don't see themselves as being qualified for college, and I think that the church can help students to see that they are able and capable to go to college if they choose. I think it's very important that students have a choice. Choice is very important. And sometimes our students don't feel like they have a choice. They feel like they aren't good enough. And so I think it's important that in the church, we are making sure that students feel like they have a choice and that they don't have to settle for whatever they do. And their choice can be a trade. And there is absolutely nothing wrong with that, because they can make a really great living in trades. I think it's important for students to have exposure to not only college, but to trades. Maybe we can create opportunities for them to shadow an electrician, or to work with a plumber, right? Because they don't know really what trades are available and what those trade options are, or they have a very limited scope on what they think that their trade options are. And there are a lot of ways to work in construction, right? You could be a construction manager versus being the actual person building the house. Like there are many ways in which students can work and build a life in a trade. And I think it's very important for them to learn about those things. And we can help do that through the church, I believe, as well as creating opportunities for them to have exposure to colleges, to careers in general. One of the things that I experience the most is that students are not aware of what their options are. When I think about my own life, I grew up not far from here. I grew up in South Park. Didn't know anyone went to college, didn't really know people with like very advanced careers, had a very limited idea of what was possible. My mom didn't go to college, but she told me that I was going to college. Now I knew that was like my goal, but I didn't know what I could do besides be a teacher, a doctor, or a lawyer. And so had I had more exposure, I might be a fashion designer. I might be an architect. I didn't know that Black people were architects, right? Like, so just exposure is really, really key. And I think the church can help with that along with schools.
I still think you can be a fashion designer.
I can.
You do that every
I mean,
time you
I
see.
do wardrobe consulting and styling as well, but that's a different episode.
So it seems like I remember when Pastor Anderson was talking to the commissioner during his podcast. I think they mentioned something like partnerships or collaborations. How do we work out situations, from your opinion, to collaborate with plumbers and electricians and companies like that who, like, we have individuals who own AC companies. What should the church, how can the church, from your perspective, collaborate with entrepreneurs to give our young people a chance to learn their trade if they don't want to go to college? What do you think?
So I think I do remember that episode where Representative Ellis talked about partnerships, and there are community partnerships that we can advocate for and try to reach out to and make collaborations. But I think that in Lilly Grove itself, or in even churches that aren't Lilly Grove, there are a plethora of people that, as you mentioned, have businesses or have careers in these different trades or just in even beyond, right? And I think we just need to make a call. I think that there are people who are willing to help and who want to do these things, but we need to ask them. In my job, I do a lot of programming. And so I recently did a career week where there were different focuses each day of different categories, arts versus medicine, so on and so forth. And I just did a call out to people who I knew. I knew an artist who does murals all over the city. He was excited to come and do a workshop with kids, right? Or I have a friend who directs commercials. She was happy to come and show students, right? And so I think it's just really about people. Sometimes they don't know to ask, or that they want to be asked versus asking, how can I help? So maybe we need to ask them for the help. So I think we could do a call out and see who signs up. If we already know that somebody has a plumbing business, let's go to them and say, hey, can Caleb shadow? Can Michelle shadow you? And what can that look like on a week-to-week basis?
You know, Lilly Grove has a lot of ministries here.
Yeah.
It's so many that people don't really know the things that we do. One of the things that I think we need to work on more is the mentorship piece. We have two ministries, one for the young ladies and one for the men. And I know what the men have done. They have done that very thing and collaborate with one of our members who owns a auto mechanic shop.
Okay.
And he was teaching them how to change oils, just simple things.
Yeah.
Right? So what are your thoughts about young ladies, the mentorship of young ladies? Because everybody don't want to be a nurse. Everybody don't want to be a lawyer, right? Some of them may want to be a fashion designer like yourself. How do we pull the leadership, and where does that fit in with social justice? I know these are a lot of random questions, but how do we work that in? Because we're talking social and justice at the same time. How does that happen?
So I think that when you think about social injustice at the same time and mentorship and education, it is about creating equity, right? Like that is the main thing with social justice is how do we create equity? And mentorship is one of those ways to help level the playing field for the girls here at Lilly Grove and in the community. I am actually a part of Next, so I do work with the teen girls, and it's something I'm very passionate about because there were women who looked out for me and took care of me and mentored me as a girl in my own church growing up. And so the way you do that is one, who are the mentors? The mentors should not all be the same. They should be varied, have different skills, have different experiences that they bring. That way, that allows the girls to see difference, to see who they could potentially be, even if it doesn't fit within a certain box and within a certain look a certain way. So that's one place to start is who are the mentors? We have to be very intentional about who we are bringing in to mentor the girls at our church and in churches beyond.
And having said that, I want to ask you this question. How are mentors selected? What do you do since you're part of Next? What do you do to select? How do you identify mentors for these young men?
So for Next in particular, we have an application that mentors fill out online. And then once they fill it out, we have an interview process and we do a group interview to see how they interact with other mentors. We then ask them about their experiences. We learn about their personal experience, but as well as their careers. Like some of them they're different age ranges. We have one that's a nursing student. We have people who are seniors who are retired, right? And then we also find out what makes them interested in this ministry, and specifically, and many times they have a personal experience or a personal history that makes them very committed to supporting and mentoring young girls. And that's very important because it is a time commitment. Particularly with Next, we don't only mentor when we meet. We actually have one-on-one mentoring. So we spend time with our mentees separately. And that goes beyond their time with us. So one of my mentees just graduated. She's now at Prairie View this summer, starting early. And I am still her mentor. She calls me, she Skypes me or whatever. Not Skype, that's old, but FaceTimes me. Audio messages me when she's stressed. She has questions. She has questions about financial aid, which it works out for her that I'm a college counselor, so I can help her with that too, right? But so those are things that we ask the mentors. And then we also just take some time and see how they interact with each other because we do have to work together. We collaborate on events. We collaborate on the lessons. And so that's very important as well.
Lilly Grove has a lot of children, youth, and teens here. Mm-hmm. What are your thoughts on background checks as it relates to people working with our young folks?
So I was going to say, we do background checks. We have to submit our information to HISD, and they have a system that allows the leadership of Next to do a proper background check, and that is a requirement every year. So I've been with Next since 2017, and every year, even though I've been with them the whole time, I have to do a background check every year.
So do you all come back together as mentors or advisors and talk about what's going on with your mentees and how you can work together to enhance or encourage them?
Sometimes we do come together to do that. Or sometimes it's like a one-off. We may have someone just may specifically come and ask one of the mentors, especially if you've been doing it longer. So as someone who's been doing mentoring longer, some of them will come to me specifically and say, I'm having this going on with this girl. Do you have any advice, right? Or do you have any suggestions? And so we collaborate in that way. What about you as someone who's been a part of Lilly Grove for a long time? How have you seen the mentoring grow and develop, particularly from the TAG group?
I actually have seen them do good things in growing the young men. I'm older now, so I don't do those kinds of things and watch us up there from a larger perspective. I've seen them take time, and what we try to encourage them not to do is spend money on them out of their own pockets, but come to the ministry to do that. But they will spend time with the kids, taking them places and educating them on how to present themselves in front of situations and audiences in churches and that kind of thing. So I've seen a lot of growth. A lot of our kids who were part of the Boy Scouts are now Eagle Scouts and grown men with families and that kind of thing. So they are continuing to grow. We have kind of a new leadership in that, Brother Brightman and Lucas and those kind of new deacons kind of guys. And they are doing a great work in trying to create partnerships and to make sure that these kids, these boys, these young men are aware of what's going to happen tomorrow and prepare them for if by chance, when they become a family man and they are taking care of families, how do you deal with this issue? So they have personal mentors, or they mentor these young boys to learn how to deal with the life issues, because life, as Taraji Henson said, life be life. And it
Yes.
doesn't just life with girls, it's
Yes.
life with boys.
Yes.
And we are looking to create men, not boys. You come from the boyhood to the manhood, and then that creates a better church. It creates a better community, and more than that, it creates a better person.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. One of the things I was wondering is, you are a parent. Of course, your kids are grown, but you're also a leader in the church. How do you see the church supporting parents as they are helping their students grow into these young men and young women?
I think the church has, as I mentioned earlier, they have several ministries that deal with kids. We have a youth ministry, but there are other entities of those ministries. I think the church has to have a listening ear, because the kids nowadays do not have the issues that we had when we were coming up. They are altogether different. Social media,
Yes.
right? Which is a big problem in a lot of families, because kids now don't go outside to play, right? What do? They focus on the telephone, the pad, and this is from a very early age. A kid will open the phone at 2 years old, and you got it locked, right? So I think the church has to have a listening ear, not to beat them up, but to try to guide them into learning how to deal with kids. Because like you said, I'm an older guy now, right? And we have younger parents, we have young boys, we have a leadership class here for men that we try to help them understand the Bible. We also try to help them understand life. And the way we do that is by giving them a platform to speak about what's going on with them, right? To teach them what the word says about this situation, because the Bible does not miss anything when it comes to life.
Yes.
And so we help them to navigate those issues in life, and we do that by Sunday school. You can't ask questions during worship
No,
time.
you cannot.
But if you have a relationship with an individual and they trust you, and kids got to trust you these days, they will come to you and you could deal with that issue together. And I may not have all the answers. I know I don't have all the answers, but together we can work it through and get them a solution to their problem.
Yeah. No,
And in the church, this church in particular plays a major role in developing the future.
Yeah. I mean, we are developing the future. I think about even my role as an educator. Like, I understand that in my time of spending time with students, that I am making an impact on who they become. And that is a weight that I'm willing to take on, right? And that's also a weight I'm willing to take on as a mentor and as a role model, I think, in a church. I think that's important. One of the things you talked about, and you mentioned, like, the kids are different. Like, they're on social media, they have the tablets, they have all the things. And I think one of the things that we must do is not push kids away necessarily from the tech, because the tech is going to be the tech, and it is here and it's here. But we need to make sure that students understand how to use it wisely. And I think that there are some things that we can do even in our mentor groups, or in our different classes that we offer in the church, to make sure that students know how to use it wisely, or offer workshops. We do offer workshops for, like, scholarships and things like that. But there are many other things that I think we could do workshops on, even how to do what the trades are. How do you get a trade certification? What's the difference between a trade school and getting a certification from a community college? It's cheaper to go to HCC to get that certification versus Universal Technical Institute, right? Like, so these are all different things that we could be helping students with through the church. How do you use technology the right way? How do you use AI the right way? AI is here to stay, but you still should be thinking critically when you use AI, right? So I think that's another way in which
And I agree with you. I think the church, as I said, the church has to have a listening ear. You've got to listen to what's going on around you, around us. It's not just about worship on Sunday mornings.
Yes.
It's about living on Monday mornings, right? And so when we have a kid or kids who are interested in social media, you teach them how to convert that to success, right?
Yes.
And so we can't do that by being home and saying, okay, well, they'll get it, because they will probably get it, but they get it the
The
wrong way.
wrong way.
So we have to lean towards putting them in. And it's like you said, through workshops, right? It's through, like they have in college, in universities, they teach classes around Jay-Z. They teach classes around entertainers. Why not us as a church start teaching classes on how to deal with those issues that you just mentioned, how to deal with AI, how to utilize it to your advantage for the benefit of your community?
Yeah.
Because at the end of the day, when you leave your mama's house, you're going to have your own community.
Yeah.
And so we have to teach them how to live in a community. And people need to understand that sometimes you're the only Bible someone will read, right?
Very true. Yep.
And if you're living accordingly, they will gravitate to you. They may not say anything to you, but they will watch you. And they always say to us as Christians, you're supposed to be a Christian when they see you do something wrong, right? And so let them say that, and you are a Christian because you're doing this right.
Right.
So we have to gravitate to the kids. They're not going to necessarily gravitate to us right away because
yes.
they don't really trust you.
Yes,
And you know that as a
yes,
Christian.
yes. Trust is very important. I mean, I'm also a person. Trust is important, even as an adult. Like, I think it's very important that I get a good vibe from you before I open up to you, just to be honest, right? And so I think that's also true for kids, and that's how I like to approach kids. Is like, I'm just trying to get to know you, right? I just want to know who you are. Who are you? And also, I am doing so in a way that is not judgmental,
Right.
because also I think it's important that children understand that adults were once kids and we did all kind of things too, right? And like, none of us woke up holy. And so I think it's important as a mentor, as a leader in the church, as a community member, that youth understand that adults were also once young, and not in this like, oh, I remember, but like, honestly, I also made mistakes. It's okay if you make mistakes. I also did this. I also did that. It's okay if you did that, and you can still overcome that and become who you decide to be.
And you have to let the kids know, or let young people know. Let people know in general, no judgment. You go into a conversation with that mentality of no judgment. Then, because I'm by profession, I'm retired now. I was a counselor,
Oh, okay.
substance abuse counselor,
Okay.
and so I dealt with justice people in the justice system, ex-offenders, right? And so there were a lot of issues going on in life with them, because here's what's happening. Here's what happens. When you go to prison at 18 years old and you come out at 45 years old, you're still 18 when you come out. Because you went in with that same mentality and you're coming out with the same, you know how to survive. But you are still 18. So you have to re-educate people when they come back home. And this is not necessarily it's coming back home. But the community has to accept them, right? And so we have a tendency to start to judge people because they have made a mistake. Because I believe everybody deserves another chance, not necessarily a second chance, because God gives us another chance every day. So we have to understand that we're not the judge here. We can't be the judge, because but for the grace of God, there go I.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So when you're talking to people, young people in general, don't go to them because you smell marijuana on them and you're judging them, because you don't know what they're going through, right?
Yes.
People don't know what we're going through.
Yes.
We look a certain way,
Right.
but you don't necessarily know what
Yes.
we're going through.
Yeah. Yeah.
So we have to understand that we have to go with them with an open mind to help, because that's what social justice is all about. Helping people. Social service and services is what Lilly Grove is all about.
Right.
So we have to learn to accept people where they are, which I learned when I was training for a counselor. Meet you where you are. When I meet you where you are, we can go to the next step together.
I like that.
Right. So that's what we need to do as a church, to make sure we understand how we are going to be better tomorrow. When I was working for the health department, it said we do it better together. And that's what I believe. We do it better
We do it better
together.
together. I think that's it right there. I mean, the word calls for us to work together. We are one body working together to benefit and glorify the Lord, but to benefit the people of his kingdom. And so I think that what we're doing, we are working together to build the future.
So what is your definition of educational success, Miss Sister Counselor?
So that's a good question. I think that I'm a person who kind of struggles with the idea of one success looking one way. I think that everyone is different and everyone has different abilities and different goals. And so I think that educational success is someone who is able to achieve the education that allows them to do what they want to get out of life, get what they want to get out of life. So for that one student, that might mean that they're going to go to an Ivy League and they are going to become a lawyer and become a judge. Like that is educational success for that student. For another student, that might mean that they are going to go and get a certification to become a welder. And they're going to be a master welder. And that's it for that student. I also support students who are on the spectrum and they have IEPs. And for those students, educational success is graduating and getting a job at Goodwill and being able to function as an adult with a job and go home to their parents, right? So like educational success looks different for every student. I think that sometimes we try to put the same guidelines on all kids, but every student is different. And every student needs to be seen as an individual and seen for what they want to do and what they are capable of. And if they understand what they're capable of, they need to know what they're capable of. Because I think that a lot of times students don't know what they're capable of and they are limited in their thinking. But I think that nonetheless, back to your original question, educational success looks different for every student, but it's about what is their goal, having an actual goal and what education is required to achieve that goal.
I appreciate that answer. I'm thankful that Pastor Anderson has allowed this church to move towards social justice and service for the benefit of our community and ourselves. You can't say enough about the work that he and our executive pastor, Carlos Washington, are doing. And you never really know, you really can't see it because they're always at work, right? And people don't understand the magnitude of carrying a congregation of this size. And I'm thankful for them because they allow young people like yourself and your husband and the other social justice ministry leadership to take the bull by the horns and make something happen. Because even though we have been here 30 and 40 years, what have you, you all are the new breed. You've got ideas. You've got some things that you see needs to happen because you've got a community, right? You've got a mind. You've had some experiences in life that we've not had because we are older and you're younger. So I'm so thankful for that. And I'm thankful that people like yourself, who is working with our children, are so willing to put in the work. And I know it takes you newly married kind of like, right? And it takes away sometimes from what you're doing or have to do for your husband and that kind of thing for your family. But thank you for what you do. Thank your husband for us for what he does. And I again want to thank Pastor Washington Anderson for what they do and the entire Lilly Grove Church family leadership. Because listen, there are a lot of churches that are doing some things, but they're struggling. God has put his hands on this church to ensure that we get the work done in the community where we live.
Yeah.
So what are your final thoughts about what we're talking about? Listen, we got to come back, right?
Okay.
Because I think we just touched the surface on some things that's deep embedded in you that you want to say. And of course, you're the co-host. You do one of these when you get ready. What are your final thoughts about what we're doing?
I just want to say that I believe that, the church is very important. The church is not only the place in which we find spiritual growth, but it is where we find community, it is where we find our extended family. It is where children are able to develop the skills and the identity to flourish. I am a big believer in that. I tell people, whether it's at work or not, like that a lot of what our children need to flourish, they can find at church. And I'm not just talking about from a spiritual perspective. And so I think this is a very important conversation because as Lilly Grove continues to grow, we are going to continue to make an impact on the future leaders of this community and the world. And we have a lot of work to do, but we are equipped and able to do it.
Well, thank you for coming on and being a part of us. And with that, we'll be back next week.